It's 8:46.
What up, what up, what up?
Yeah, you know what.
All my true funk soldiers out there. Well, funk continues around the world.
Funk Army. Stand
J-E-T-S. You know what time it is?
You know what we gotta do.
Funk from the frontiers upon you.
Just for you.
Clap your hands like this, everybody.
You don't have to be the best.
Just gotta outlast the rest. You don't have to be the best. And we got the best for you today, yo. I am privileged. I am honored. I am hyped up on this beautiful Saturday. We got CBS Sports Radio personality Amy Lawrence is in the house today with us, yo. So it's all good. We need everybody to clap your hands like this.
Against the wall, we'll be together until the jam is done.
All around the world for the funk. Amy Lawrence, CBS Radio is in the house, y'all. Today, Funk from the Front Seat, 9 on the Grind TV, is proud and honored to have Amy Lawrence with us. All around the world for this funk, right here on Funk from the Front Seat.
Here we go, y'all.
This woman is a pioneer in the business. Oh. So we're going to start up in New York City. What up? Yes, all day long, bro. Down in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Delaware, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, South Carolina, Long Island, Queens, Staten Island, Brooklyn, Minneapolis, where you at? Detroit, I see you up there in the 313.
Join us on this one, all right?
Funky Philadelphia. I just left there this weekend performing. It was dope, y'all. Amy Lawrence is in the house. Woo! We're going to get hyped up. Yes, we are. CBS is in the house, yo. United we stand. Ain't that right, Georgia, Florida, New Orleans, Oklahoma, Utah, North and South Dakota. I got fans out there, yeah, I met them. Woo! California, Nevada, Dubai, Hawaii, Bowen, doing the Humpty Hump. Woo! Africa! Ukraine, we got you. What's up, Russia? Ireland, we got you in the message. Cocolino in Italy, thank you for playing my phone. Germany, England, what up? We get funky today, yo. Amy Lawrence is in the seat, in the front seat, hanging out with us. Oh, yeah. CBS, yo. This woman is amazing. Totally crushing. Funk from the front seat, 9 on the Grind TV. Y'all stay active on that chat line, all right?
About the needs, a movement, genocide and homicide.
All around the world for the funk, yo. Alaska, we got you. North and South Pole, we got you. Colombia, we got you. Oh, Haiti, what up? Puerto Rico. Nothing but the funk right here on the Grind TV. Funk from the front seat. Right now, without further ado, we're going to bring in the voice and the talent and the lovely, lovely vibe of Amy Lawrence. She's in the house with us today. Let me take off my sunglasses so I can see what I ain't looking at. Y'all know I'm rocking my jet ski today, so that's what's happening with that. But right now, we got Amy Lawrence in the house. How you doing, Amy? How are you, Amy?
I'm good.
How's everything?
It's good. It's a few days left until football season, which of course means that's a few days left of the unofficial summer before life gets crazy and football runs my world.
That's right. And I'm so grateful. I'm glad I got you on this weekend before we get the whole Big Bang roll started, man. It's a beautiful thing. You know, I'm a diehard Jets fan. I hit you every now and then on Twitter, and I'll be talking junk last year, the year before. But this year, I got to tell you, I'm not nervous as a Jet fan, nor am I apprehensive or the opposite. I am just enjoying the ride.
Good.
The attention, people are getting all hyped up about this, that, and the third. But I'm 65 years old. I'm a 50-year Jet fan veteran. So for me, I already won. I already won. I'm grateful. Like, what we doing with our squad and how the NFL is always, now we got a target on our back, this and that. So I'm embracing that. Yo, I'm down for it. You know what I'm saying? I'm a New Yorker. So, we ready for it. So let me ask you something.
Yes.
I've been following and everything. So you have a special day coming up sometime soon, don't you? Aren't you getting ready to tie the bow?
I like that. Tie the bow, not tie the knot. Yes.
Tie the bow. Not a knot. It's a bow. A knot you can't get, it's knotted. A bow is beautiful. It's together. It's love,
Yes. Well, we're really excited. I've waited a long time to finally meet the love of my life and the man who asked me to be his wife. And so we are getting married in December, the weekend before Christmas weekend, and plans are falling into place. We're really excited. And as much as the wedding will be fun, it's going to be a pretty small wedding with no more than 50 people, primarily family. As much as we're looking forward to the event and celebrating with the people that we love the most, we're just really anxious to start our life together, this next stage of our life together. So for that reason, it feels like time is dragging, and yet here comes football, and whoa, how is the summer nearly over? So it's a strange confluence of two emotions as I consider time.
Yeah. It's so nice to hear you say, the love of your life, because I recently found somebody last year since I last talked to you, and we're trying to make it work and do all that good stuff. So I really get that. And you deserve that. You are truly, and I'm going to run down your bio in a minute.
Oh,
but
dear.
You are truly one of the leaders and the queens out here in this world that make a difference in people's lives. And you've been blessed. God has blessed you with a tremendous gift of charity and humility, and at the same time, strength and fortitude. And I applaud you for that. Your show is on Amy Lawrence After Hours with Amy Lawrence, Monday through Friday, 2 a.m. to 6 a.m.
Eastern time.
And I'm usually up that time.
Are you?
Yes, that's why I listen to you all the time, because I do my best recording and writing music from like 1 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
That's how I always catch your show and everything. Plus, you're an Aries, just like me.
Yes, an April baby.
Yep, and I'm March, so automatically we kindred spirits. You did your thing at the network, and I want to remind everybody, any opinions about whatever we say is just strictly the show. Fun from the front seat, it's mine. It doesn't offend anybody, because I just want people to know that. You were at ESPN for 9 years and CBS since 2013. So tell us a little bit about your background. Tell some of the young women and men out there how you got started in this.
Oh gosh, it's a winding road, to be sure. Well, I initially, at 16 years old, decided that I wanted to talk about sports for a living. And that was because I was cutting my teeth on late 80s, early 90s NBA. And I just loved the idea of listening to a game on the radio and the announcers describing the action in such a way that listeners did not feel like they were missing anything simply because they couldn't see it with their own eyes. And so I just fell in love with radio. I've been a radio junkie ever since. Truth be told, I would rather, in most cases, listen to the radio than watch TV. Now, there is value in TV, and so I appreciate that. But yes, I do love the art of radio. I love the fact that you can connect with people through voices. You can connect with people through the emotion in your voice, or the storytelling, or the way that you describe a particular event or person, or any type of a connection that you can share. And sure, we can't see each other, but we can connect over conversation and through conversation. So I love that art form. And I studied communications as an undergrad and then went on to get my master's in TV and radio at Syracuse University. So kind of full circle, I was able to teach my first class at Syracuse last spring, which was surreal and just a phenomenal opportunity to share my passion for the art of radio. And so, got started there, but then it's a grind to find jobs, to figure out what you're good at and what path, what direction you should pursue. And that applies to any career, not just broadcasting. And so it was a matter of trial and error. It was a matter of finding my own style and working out who I want to be on the radio, how I want to present myself, what my goals are for my radio show, what type of creativity I want to employ. So all of those things led me to the network level. And I'm grateful now that I get a chance to talk about anything and everything on After Hours. And really, it is a lot of fun to put together a show that doesn't have a structure. Doesn't have to be all football or all baseball. Last night we talked about Christian Pulisic and his AC Milan debut. Sha'Carri Richardson setting a record in the 100 meters at the World Championships. Being able to talk about golf and some of the crazier stuff that's happening there. Tennis all mix in too, but then also personal stories and stories about pets and animals and hurricanes and anything else that's taking place in the world. I think because none of us are one-dimensional. So as much as people may say to me, you're a sports host, you're supposed to be talking about sports. We're all human beings. And what I found is that being able to connect with people over what we have in common, sometimes sports, but more often sports divides us, not brings us together, right? Because we all have different affiliations. We all have different teams that we're passionate about. But we can all connect over things like family. We can all connect over things like travel. We can all connect over things like natural disasters or animals or relationships, faith in many cases. There's so many ways that as human beings we can connect. So later in my career now, these past probably more so since COVID, Zach, but even before that, my goal has just been to connect with people as much as possible and to let them know they're not alone. You have a companion in me. And whenever you choose to hang out with us, well, we are here for you nightly on CBS Sports Radio.
Yo, I got to tell you, that's the perfect answer because I love that because I listen to a lot of podcasts. Yours is like in my top 5. It's saved in my Spotify. I have you all over the place because you're right. You do get into some subjects. And I remember like when COVID was happening and you was talking about you was in the house, the squirrel, something was in your attic and you just went remember that night? And I distinctly remember it was so entertaining to me. Because you're like, well, I don't know what it is. I don't want to bother it. And you're in another space and you're trying to do the show. And we were patchworking stuff together. And I said to myself then, this woman right here, she gets it, because you're an artist at what you do. And the fact that you are gracious enough to spend time on shows such as this, and we cross over on everything too. I appreciate when you as a journalist and also, a representative of a large company, corporation, CBS, and what you do. I really appreciate the fact that you do cross over and do get into a lot of the social ills of the world because we are one. We are global. We are, one ball of energy, just hurling through space. And we need to take care of each other. Your show does that. It gives people somewhere to go between that time slot that, may feel alone. And that's a beautiful thing, That's why your show's such a hit. I mean, it just is. You are one of the first 100 most important women sports talk show host in 2015. That must have been a real, exciting honor. And tell us a little bit about that as you progressed and became this personality that you are now.
Oh, I appreciate that. And as I said, it really took years to develop the style that I have and for me to recognize that the priority is not about sharing my sports knowledge with people. It's not about letting everyone know that I know what I'm talking about. It's not about proving myself. It really is about connections. It really is about reaching people. And what has been the greatest compliment to me is the number of people, specifically women, who maybe didn't listen to sports radio before, but wouldn't listen to sports radio generally, except that they have found someone who is more like them. And they found someone that will talk about a variety of subjects and topics and tell stories and really relate. And you don't have to be a sports fan to appreciate my show. And that's what people say to me. I don't even like sports, but I love your show. And so to me, that's the greatest compliment is if you will still listen, even if you don't like sports, because you enjoy the entertainment value of the show. And so that makes me really happy. And yeah, it was a neat honor to have this 5 nights a week show be my own, to be able to start from a foundation that I started on the weekends, right? So I was doing Friday, Saturday, Sunday nights after hours. That's where it began with the advent of CBS Sports Radio. But to be given the honor of having my own show 5 nights a week, and it is 4 hours live, Sunday through Thursday nights, or if you listen to East Coast, Monday through Friday mornings, and to know that it was my own, I could build it, I could figure out, what works for me, what we get the most reaction out of, but also what we enjoy the most. And it's been kind of fun to continue features like Ask Amy Anything, which we do every Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. It's called our hump show, middle show of the work week.
Right. I love it.
Yeah. And so we do Ask Amy Anything, and that's never waned. People continue to, in fact, we'll do it tonight. People continue to send questions. We also do fun stuff like QB News, where we collect as much audio from the quarterback, specifically. Why? Because we're obsessed with quarterbacks here in this country. We do all kinds of just kind of goofy, crazy stuff like Sad Sap of the Week, or, just Bite Me, where it's a group of audio cuts. And yeah, so it's a lot of fun, Zach, to kind of put your own stamp. And there's so many options out there. As you know, there are 8,322,000 podcasts available now of any topic that you could possibly imagine. And in the sports world, there are even so many more. How do you get your show and your voice to stand out in what is a very crowded marketplace?
Yeah.
And I'm grateful. I love working nights. In fact, one of the reasons that nights has been so good for me is because so many other radio stations will power down or will carry automated programming at night, where we are live and people know it because I say stupid stuff and they recognize that it's not on tape because I'm communicating with you in the moment. And so yeah, we've carved out our own little niche there on after hours. And I don't believe that I'll be on overnights forever. In fact, I'm starting to get to the point where I'll be ready to change time slots. I've had the opportunities in the past, but I've chosen to stay where I am. But, getting married and also, wrapping up next year will be 10 years on the same time slot, which is really unheard of in sports radio. And so, I'll be anxious for a change. I'll be ready for something new. But for now, I have made after hours my own and put my own stamp on it, which has been a lot of fun.
Yeah. And let me tell you something. Change is good. It's never a bad thing because it's just a constant thing, and being on that shift, so to speak, that overnight shift, and you've held that torch for so long, your natural organic body energy will move you towards something else, especially now that you get ready to get into the next phase of your life, which is, I'm sure, is just going to be beautiful. So yeah, it's a natural thing. I think lean in, I always tell people lean into it and embrace it as long as it's healthy, because it's going to happen one way or the other anyway.
Right. Change is going to happen. You are right about that.
Yeah, I learned that. I was like, there's Bootsy Collins, he's my mentor, and people like that, and he's always said, listen, God says, you perform on the stage, but I run the show.
Good point. I am the stage manager. Yes.
Yep. He's the one that runs the whole thing. So getting back into some football for a hot second, I know we're bouncing around all over the place, but I can't help it because that's just what my energy is on this beautiful Saturday.
Yes.
Before the NFL. Why do you think they're killing running backs and they don't want to pay them?
Okay. That's not a loaded question or anything. Let's see. There's a lot of reasons. Number one, there is a salary cap, right? And the more money that is spent on quarterbacks, and the going rate now is for an above average quarterback is better than $50 million per year. Not that the salary cap isn't also getting higher, and it's also getting bloated, but teams have to make choices. They have to make tough choices. Every year we see great veteran players cut because of the money, because of the financial angle, the business side of things. So quarterbacks are costing more. If you find a good pass rusher, they're top flight. They're costing more. Maybe you're talking about a member of your offensive line that is protecting your very expensive investment at quarterback. You've got wide receivers and other position players that you need to pay. Really, it does come down to, I think, really tough choices. But that is the beauty of the NFL. It's why roughly half the playoff field turns over every year, because the NFL has found a formula to keep everyone, not every team, but for the most part, the majority of teams on a level playing field. And so the way they do the draft, the way they have the salary cap, it's the perfect formula, which is why every other sports league in the United States wants to be like the NFL when it grows up, And so I know with running backs, it's two things. It's number one, it's the physical nature of the position. The fact that they take the most pounding, they take the most hits. Physically, their bodies are more than likely going to break down quicker than any other position on the field because of the pounding they take, snap after snap after snap. And then, so there's the physical aspect of it. The more miles you have, the more carries you get, the more touches you have, well, the more that you are going to end your career more quickly, right? I mean, it's natural. It's biological. There's no way. Again, for the most part, I know Adrian Peterson, Frank Gore, these are a couple of names, guys who took hits for years longer. But generally, you can see the production of a feature back start to wane at 28 or 29. And the reason is because of the amount of pounding they're taking on their bodies, the number of hits. And again, you want to use them, you want to ride them when they're really good, you want to get the most out of them. And that's awesome. But it does directly correlate to how many years you can get out of a running back. I truly believe there's only so many carries, only so many hits that a running back can take before it's the point of diminishing returns. And so that's the reason. I mean, you're talking about running backs right now that are theoretically in the prime of their careers, but teams balk at paying them big money. Why? Well, because they're going to get to 28, they're going to get to 29, and you're going to start to see if they're still healthy. And many of them get injured. Dalvin Cook has fought injuries for years. Christian McCaffrey's fought injuries. Recently, Derrick Henry has fought injuries. You can only withstand that pounding for so long. And so teams don't want to lock themselves into long-term deals. Even Saquon Barkley has already had a couple of injuries that have taken him off the field for a long stretch of time. Right.
Ezekiel
and so
Elliott.
Exactly. Zeke was so good early on, but then you start to see the investment not become quite as worth it because of the injuries that would take them off the field. And even when they are playing, sometimes they're playing and they're rushing hurt. And so it is reality that if a team has to save money somewhere, even if their running back right now is part of the reason for their success. I mean, think about Saquon Barkley. There's no way that Daniel Jones gets the big contract that he did if not for Saquon Barkley.
That's right.
And how much he took the pressure off last year, not to mention the blocking and everything else that takes place, And so there's a lot that goes into it, the biological side of things, but also the financial, which is that teams can't pay everyone all the time. And very often there are these sacrificial lambs at the running back position. If they have to, they'll sub in a rookie or they'll sub in a relative unknown at that position until they feel like they can find another top flight running back. But for the most part, we've seen there's not a massive drop off, right? You can bring in a rookie running back and he can be just as effective and sometimes be an incredible revelation. Why? Because he has fresh legs, because he hasn't taken a lot of hits, because he's going to take the ball, put his head down and find an opening. Or if you have a really good offensive line, sometimes your running back doesn't even need to be that good.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So there's a lot of reasons why, and it's maybe not fair, but you know what? Life is not fair. And so I'm glad that Saquon Barkley took the $11 million. I'm glad that Tony Pollard showed up in camp. I mean, you're complaining about not making enough money, but don't sneeze at $10 million, right? That's $10 million.
That's right. My guy Dalvin Cook took what? I think he took 9 or 8 for the Jets.
Right. And there could be a little bit more to it for sure. But yeah, I mean, you got to meet the incentives too.
That's very interesting because like I said, today, first of all, my audience were hanging out with Amy Lawrence after our CBS Radio sports personality, and this beautiful spirit, this queen, this lovely spirit out here in the world doing all these great things, and bringing people together, through her show and through her work, man. And believe me, this woman is very spiritual, and I'm grateful to have her on my show, once in a while. So it's really cool. I looked it up. Last time you were here, it was July of 22. So,
really?
Yes, it was. Wow. Yes, I kept track because I keep a book and I keep track of my guests and all that other stuff. So I was like, okay, I wanted to make sure I got you on this year before the season. I usually get you before the football season starts. So next year I'll have it in my head to try to get you on like July or August again. So when we look at today's sports market across the board, you got the gambling, you got college kids getting paid for their likenesses and jumping around. I want to just jump on that real fast, and then some other few things I want to get into you about. But I want to really talk about, not in any good or bad way, just in general, with the amount of movement and in college football and the conferences changing and people just leaving by droves to go to other conferences, all driven by the almighty dollar. Do you think it's good? Or is any good going to come of it?
I've started to think about this as much as I can from average college football fan or average sports fan perspective, because I saw one host, maybe he put on Twitter, what does it matter? I show up for the games. I don't care what conferences these teams play in. For those of us who are immersed in the business, it's drastic. It's jarring to see some of these super conferences. It's jarring to think about the fact that the Big Ten is about to be, 24 teams. The Pac-12 may collapse. The SEC, they're bringing in some of the best of the Big 12. The Big 12 had to find a way to poach teams from other conferences just to stay afloat. I mean, the whole thing it's hard to wrap your brain around. But honestly, Zach, if we still get games that are compelling and games that are entertaining and games that suck us in on a Saturday afternoon or, any other day, a Thursday evening, well, then ultimately doesn't matter all that much. No, I think it does. It does create a different type of an experience for the athletes. Yes, they have the opportunity to make money off their name, image, and likeness, which to me is too much like pay for play. But ultimately, that only applies to a select few of college athletes. For the most part, the college athlete experience is one in which there is not money that's being paid. Now, you do get your education paid for, which, my goodness, the cost of education these days, that is an incredible boost. And if you can go on a full athletic scholarship and get an education, and I'm not sure if you know this, but these athletes have 6 years, in some cases 7, if they have a hardship of some sort, to complete their education. I mean, that's incredible. You can have your education paid for over the course of 7 years, and it can be completely free. Wow. So that's awesome. But the majority of athletes are not making money off the NIL rules. The majority of athletes are not transferring. We focus on the ones, the select few, the ones we'll say at the top, so to speak, who are, transferring or who are using the portal or who are getting paid. And to me, that's the hard part about all these super conferences, is that the experience for the majority of their college athletes is not one where they travel by charter flight or, they're treated like royalty because their games are on TV every week. No, the majority of college athletes, the thousands and thousands and thousands of college athletes that I feel like are getting lost in the shuffle, are the ones who, are gymnasts or are soccer players or are divers or swimmers or cross country, something like that, where, now their travel schedules could be so crazy. They have to go across the country covering maybe 3 time zones for their meets or for their games. I really do think it interrupts a lot of the academic experience. And I also think it sends the message that athletics are more important than academics. And that part bothers me, because the majority of these athletes are not ones that are in the spotlight. They're not ones that will benefit from all the extra money.
Yeah, I agree. And see, I agree with you wholeheartedly, because I thought about that. Like, if somebody's playing field hockey you know, and they got like an algebra test the next day. They got to travel,
Right.
you know, 4 or 5 states away, whatever, take a plane, get to, and then come back. And their goal is not to be a professional field hockey player. Their goal may be to be a scientist or a nurse or a doc. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I agree with you. It's weird how we've shifted the whole, you know, 5,120-year shift, and that's a whole nother subject, a spiritual matter. But everything, it seems like, is shifting all at once. It's almost like in the past 10 years, there's been this explosion of, okay, we're going to let everybody gamble, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. And I'm looking at it, and sports now, as much as I love it, and this is one of my pet peeves about the Super Bowl and things like that, as much as I love sports, and believe me, I do love my football, right? The average fan can no longer afford to go, right?
Ugh.
And I think that's a problem. But football is so popular, the average fan, and this is what I was going to get to, will spend this huge amount of money. Now that, like, again, these are only my opinions on the show, so please don't sue nobody else, please. But now that you know, you got to go to YouTube to get the NFL package in certain places, and you know, like in my complex here, I can't have DirecTV. I got to go with the other, you know, company, right? So the other company doesn't offer the NFL package. It only offers the red zone. And I don't play fantasy football or gamble, so I could care to whatever about the red zone. I hate it. That's just me, right? So now I got to go on YouTube and give them a monthly fee and drop that monthly fee down for the NFL package if I want to see my Jets and Kansas City Chiefs and stuff. So I just think that they got to do something, man, to help us out as fans. What do you think about that?
You know, it's interesting, and I go back and forth on this because there is obviously the marketplace that will dictate how many of these various streaming sites can stay afloat, right? How many different options can people spend money on? And I don't think that you're going to see Americans in droves adding all these various outlets. I think people have to pick and choose. For the majority of us, the majority of sports fans, we don't have unlimited discretionary income, right? And so I've had to cut. I mean, I work in the business, for heaven's sakes, but I've had to cut off what I will spend my money on when it comes to streaming. I have Amazon Prime. I have Paramount Plus because that's CBS, but also, you know, they've got a bunch of sporting events there. And then I also will, like, I share, I mean, I guess this is against the law, but I share Disney Plus with a friend. You know, I don't have Netflix, but I have a family member that has Netflix, and I know we're not supposed to be sharing. But so I have to get, you know, I get to get creative when it comes to some of these other streaming services because I don't have the unlimited income to be able to pay for all of them. And I still have regular cable because so much of the sporting event or the sports world is still on regular cable or on broadcast TV. And so I can't get rid of that. And so I can only add so many. I'm not going to add NBC Peacock, right? I can't do that just for a couple of NFL games. Right, and so in that case, in that case, I listen on the radio. I listen to Sirius XM, who carries all of the local broadcasts of really every every sport, right? So you can get your favorite baseball broadcast, you can get your favorite NFL team, and a lot of the broadcasters are just incredible. And so I will, when I have to, I will listen straight on the radio, and that'll be how I keep up. But I've had to cut myself off, right? I mean, I can't afford them all. So I do think at some point we're going to reach this kind of this brick wall, if you will, for sports fans where they can only afford so much, and the streaming services and the league start to realize that they're not making money by putting more and more games over, you know, different outlets over the internet. They're not seeing the returns, right? They're not seeing the number of subscribers. I heard this stat recently from Amazon in which they have admitted they're not getting new subscribers anymore. They're trying to milk more money out of the people that are already signed up for Amazon, which means increasing the rates. It means adding more services because they're not seeing the number of people join anymore. They got a bump out of the NFL, but it's not like they got a huge bump out of the NFL. And so they did get some of that. But yeah, it's the more that you see the marketplace kind of spread out. The issue that, of course, though, Zach, is that the leagues don't want to turn down the billions of dollars that are being offered to them by
Amen.
Apple TV or by Amazon Prime. I mean, these streaming services are overpaying to bring in some of these sporting events, believing that it'll give them a boost when it comes to subscribers. But at some point, American families run out of money. They only have so much. And so then they start sharing passwords, of course, or they just don't watch and they kind of pick it up. I mean, remember last year with Aaron Judge's home run chase in the American League? They had a bunch of games on Apple TV. Ultimately, the uproar was so great that the Yankees actually took those games off Apple and put them on their own network. And I'm not sure exactly how they worked that out with Apple, but they recognized not enough people have Apple TV, and they wanted those games where Aaron Judge was hitting home runs to be on TV where people could enjoy them still. And I think that's ultimately, there are a lot of Americans that either can't afford it or aren't going to take the time to go to streaming. And that's why the numbers are so much lower for Thursday Night Football even, right? That's why I think YouTube TV is the most popular. That's what I've heard. YouTube TV is the most popular. So
that's what I'm going to go with this year.
Yeah, that's what my fiance uses, but he only has it during football season. He doesn't even bother with it the rest of the year. And so, we don't have an unlimited supply of money to be able to use on all these streaming services. So I have to get creative myself. And I know some sports fans are having to choose to go without or sharing passwords until that gets shut down.
Yeah. And, I'm so glad you said that. Today we're hanging out on Funk from the Front Seat. Amy Lawrence, After Hours, CBS Radio. This woman is amazing. And she kicks the truth and the real. She's spiritual. That's why everybody comes on this show knows my mantra, peace, love, and harmony. It's all about, the spirit. See, because what happens, I know for me, I'm from New York, but I live in North Carolina now. So there is really only basically a few places here in Durham, North Carolina, and it's a college town, whatever, where I can actually go and be comfortable. I could go to a sports bar, but to be comfortable, I go to a few, and then I watch the Jets or whatever, or I watch my teams or whatever, right? Yeah. But there's just one place down here in this whole area that's completely just a Jets sports bar, and it's about an hour away from me, a little bit less than that, over at Apex and Cary. I haven't been there yet. I plan to pop in there this year because, again, I'm not carrying cable and YouTube TV and whatever else I got to pay once a month for the YouTube TV and the package. It's ridiculous. And I fight hard for the little guy. You know me. I fight for the little man and woman because at some point they're going to bottom out, like you said. And when they do, the place they're going to have to come crawling back to is the fan. And that's when we can determine as fans, okay, we're not going to watch this. We're not going to watch that. Like, I refuse to watch Thursday Night Football. Number one, it's so bad. The guys are hurt. They don't recover. It just it doesn't make any sense. How are you going to play and then try to get your body to go back out there and hit the ground 40 times again? You know what I mean? But it is what it is. I love the fact that you're kicking it real, though. That's why I like having you on this show. I'm going to stop for a second. You got a few more minutes to hang out. I'm going to run a few commercials, and then we'll come back on the other side with Amy Lawrence After Hours CBS Radio. So y'all sit tight for a second.
Hey, this is Keith Jackson with P-Funk Radio, inviting you to check out my brother Zach Robinson with Funk from the Front Seat. Saturdays, 12 noon on the East Coast and 9 a.m. on the West Coast. It all happens on 9 on the Grind TV and also on YouTube. Great guest, great conversation each and every Saturday. That's Funk from the Front Seat with Zach Robinson on 9 on the Grind TV and YouTube. Check him out.
Hey, this is Jen Vanderputten, writer of Code and Prose. You are watching Funk from the Front Seat with Zach Roberson. Tune in every Saturday at noon for excellent and important conversation.
Hey, it's Chrissy Key Rollins here with Holistic Restoration, inviting you to check out Zach Robinson with Funk in the Front Seat. He drops new episodes every Saturday at noon on the East Coast time, and replays are posted for whenever you miss a live stream. You can find him on 9 on the Grind TV and also on YouTube, and get ready for the funk because he brings it every week along with hot topics, amazing guests, and great conversations. Again, that's Zach Robinson with Funk from the Front Seat on 9 on the Grind TV and YouTube. Go check them out.
Also, I definitely want to give a shout out to JTRP. P-Funk Radio, thanks for playing all my stuff all the time. Gabe Gonzalez, on Wednesday nights, and Larry Funkster Jones, on Saturday nights, P-Funk Radio, Bootsy and Patty Collins, all the Club Funketeer ambassadors. I love y'all. I'm honored to be your vice president. HJ Entertainment, Heidi, you get well soon. K&N Jams, Kevin, I got you, bro. I love you, man. Feel better. Tony Cam and the Funk All-Stars, Naphead Funk Army, my management company down here, Oak City Music Collective. Thank you, Diego, for always hooking us up with the dope gigs. Afterglow 92416 and Q&A Entertainment. Brooke Clagett, my Funk Angel. Love Tea, Excess Energy Drinks. Patricia Dioria and Aquarius Rising Art. Curtis Wilcox of Georgia Funk Vinci, all this beautiful artwork behind me that you see. I have people that do that. They make my logos, and I can't, not go without thanking the guy that takes care of our website, Napier Funk Army, Dr. Brookenstein. I love you, bro. Thank you so much. DJ Coccolino over in Italy. Thank you for running my stuff and turning my funk into dance music over there. So I'm feeling that. David Webb Funk Chronicles. And don't you forget, every Sunday, 3 p.m. on 9 on the Grind TV, we run David Webb Funk Chronicles, Dayton, Ohio, his radio show. It's all that and then some. And also, we started our new show with George the Funk Vinci, Full Funk Vibe. That's on Thursday nights on 9 on the Grind. So we're trying to make some moves in our 4th year. And we are back with Amy Lawrence. So, Amy, what is happening as far as I had some stuff written down here that I wanted to go over, but thank you for joining the show. What is happening with this gambling thing? Do you think players are going to have the discipline not to get suspended like some of these young men are?
Well, I think the majority will understand that you're putting your career and maybe a full season of your career on the line when you choose to gamble. I think the rules are a little convoluted though too, and the NFL needs to do a better job of explaining the rules, like what and where and how and when and all that thing, all that type of thing. But I certainly believe that it behooves an NFL player. If it was me and I was giving advice, I would say, don't gamble while you're in the NFL. The average NFL career is not even 5 seasons, Zach. If you can't go 5 seasons without gambling, there's a problem. So in my opinion, the hard and fast rule, if I'm telling a player, if I'm repping a player, something like that, if I'm advising a player, if a player is in my family or a friend of mine, I'm saying you only have so many years to be in the league. It's a privilege to be in the league. You have an opportunity to make the type of money that will set you and your family up for life. Maybe a couple of generations. Don't squander that by gambling, right? Don't squander that by gambling. You cannot make more money gambling for the most part. There may be a few who do make more money gambling than you make when you are playing in the NFL. But if you do get a free agent contract or a second free agent deal, again, you're set up for years to come. Most people don't make millions of dollars gambling. So why risk it? Just steer clear. That way you don't have to worry about the rules, where you can gamble, when you can gamble, that type of thing. The NFL looks away and really doesn't pay any attention when it comes to fantasy football. Play your fantasy football. Enjoy a couple of wagers on the golf course with your buddies if that's what you need to do. But do not place bets with sports books or online, anything like that, where you can be tracked, because the NFL is paying people who do this for a living. Like what I've heard is that we're talking about the type of caliber of trackers and technology and people that, would work for law enforcement agencies or would work for the FBI. That's how good they are at tracking your digital footprint. Don't risk it. You're not going to get away with it. I mean, I was really sure that after Calvin Ridley, that would be the cautionary tale and that we would not see other athletes try it. But it's a problem, of course, because it's dangling in front of their faces all the time. I think it's so hypocritical of the NFL and other leagues to be in bed with gambling organizations, to be making money off gambling organizations, but to say to their people, hey, you have to ignore the bright, shiny object. But I will say again, if you are a professional athlete, draw a hard line. Do not gamble, period, while you're in professional sports, because absolutely no good can come of it.
Yeah. I love the fact that you kick the truth and straight on here. That's why I love having you on, because you're right. It is a hypocritical type vibe, because they back in the day, everybody gambled in New York City with the football cards. We all knew the mob ran it. The mob knew the mob ran it. The government knew the mob ran it. The NFL knew the mob ran it, and everybody was happy. because we all made money. If you went on that football card that week, you went into work, and I worked in healthcare, you were the happiest person in the world that you won $150. You know what I'm saying? And it made it more personable, because even though it was illegal, like, people kind of like have a little evil edge to when something's illegal but it's not harmful. It's almost like, oh yeah, you know, I made this bet or whatever. But it was so prevalent that everybody who handed out the football cards and then gave them to whoever, it was just a known fact. Nobody really cared. Even my administrators were doing it. I'm talking like a major healthcare, right? So, but I look at it and I'm worried about, and this is no knock on Gen Z. I got two daughters, one 19, one 15. No knock on them whatsoever. I just know impulse control with these people that are a little bit younger, a little bit more naive to, like you said, the footprints that can be followed, right? Is there like, maybe I'm going to drop this touchdown pass to mess with the spread rather, so I can win? Do you think we're going to start seeing some of that?
I don't think so. Again, I think that would be the aberration.
I hope not.
Yeah, most of these athletes, what they care primarily about is winning and is being at the top of their sport, is being the best at what they do. Now, maybe they're not all driven the way that Tom Brady was, but I think for the most part, that goes against a professional athlete. All you've done your entire career is play, you know, to the best of your ability, as hard as you can, blood, sweat, tears. You've worked so hard to separate yourself from the pack, to be in this place where you are among the best of the best, that I just don't think the majority of them would even see it as a benefit. So you make a little money, fine, but it takes everything in you to go against your training and your conditioning for the last however many years, 25 years, to get to the highest level of your sport. So I don't think it's a danger for the majority. I'm sure there are some maybe that aren't going to get the huge free agent contracts that would consider potentially throwing a game, but I don't think it's the majority. And I really think it would be almost impossible to keep that a secret, right? I mean, there's so much attention and there's so much scrutiny these days that I just, for the most part, don't think it would be, the relationship between the bookie and the athlete would be kept a secret. People are always paying attention. People are always watching, not to mention, again, these athletes, if you give the NFL a reason, they can track your digital communications. And how do you set something like that up without text messages, without emails, without, I don't know, some type of chats over a particular website? I mean, the way that today's law enforcement and FBI and CIA and the technology that they can use to trace and follow digital communications, for the most part, you're not going to be able to get away with it anyway. And then you go to jail. Forget just losing your career, you go to jail. And so, I don't think the majority would be willing to risk it.
That's dope. You know what I wanted to get into too, and we're hanging out, with Amy Lawrence. I keep saying that over and over again because I want you guys to know just how important this woman is in the sports world and in the social world, in the social circles, as far as her show and what she talks about, any and everything. So it's really a blessing to have someone like you in my life, and your fiance and all that good stuff, man. And if you ever need a hype person like we talked about before, you know where to find me. Even though sometimes I'm touring, you know how to get me. So you reach out to me like, hey, Zach, I need to come over here and hype me up. I got you covered. But in the grand scheme of things, football season always brings the country together, right? It just does. I don't care what people say. Everybody can hate their team, go home and be a winner or a loser and not have to hate each other and fight. So having said that, I wish we could take that concept of, hey, okay, I lost today. You were the better man, a better woman, and bring that to the streets and put it in our everyday lives. Because during football season, it's been proven, sociology, they've done studies on this. The violence and the crime goes down. People are a little bit more happier. The vibes of people running into each other in the street, it's a little bit more, people against each other, but it's in a sporting kind of way. Like, oh, my team is going to be your team. Why do you think sociologically, psychologically, we have this need of football to bring us together? Why do you think that is?
I think
I'm fascinated with it. I'm fascinated with it.
I think it's because it's unique to our culture, right? I mean, there's soccer all over the world, there's basketball all over the world, there's baseball, maybe not all over the world, but in many parts of the country, or excuse me, many parts of the globe, right? Asia, South America, the Caribbean. I mean, there's a lot of different baseball leagues and baseball teams. There's even hockey in other parts of the world on other continents. But the NFL and football is exclusive to the United States and to North America. And so I think we love that it's ours. That is something that brings us together. We created it. We have a passion for it. I certainly do think fantasy football and some of the other betting elements draw more people in. But I also think that there's a buzz and an energy when you have 80,000 people in a stadium, something along those lines. And I know most NFL stadiums are not that big, but there is something to be said for having appointment TV, or for those who have tickets, an appointment to go to a game once a week. It doesn't require too much of us. It just requires one day out of a week, or if you're college football, maybe 2 days out of a week, but you don't have to give up 3 hours every night. In the sense of urgency, when there's only 17 games in the NFL season. I mean, all of these create such a compelling, entertaining atmosphere, and every game matters, right? And so we immerse ourselves this time of the year. But I do think there is something to be said for the fact that it's all American. I mean, it is the United States of America. It's our sport, and it's ours only.
That makes a lot of sense, and I never looked at it from that point of view, but it is our own exclusive kind of thing. Because I watch, I'm a people study, I'm a people watcher, and I was like, man, if we could just bring some of this same love and energy about, we had the passion, like me for my Jets or whatever, or you for your Patriots, whatever, right? It's like, we need to spread that to the people that are, I don't want to say they live in the dark, because Chrissy Key Rollins, one of my holistic restoration people that comes on, she's always saying darkness is just light waiting to happen. So we need to try to draw some of this darkness away from this country, because right now we're in such a sad state where we have so many violent acts of all kinds, and it breaks my heart to know that we can't seem to get this right. And I write songs, that dirty politics, high price prostitutions up in DC. Seems like we can't get it right, and I urge everyone to pay attention to what's going on in the country and be proactive. Don't sit back and wait, because I think being proactive, at least your voice is being heard, as long as it's in a calm, civil, humane, legal way. You know what I mean? Because we're not really making the progress on one side that we're making on the other. Technologically, we're going through the roof. We got all kinds of stuff, but we're still in this primitive stage of, I got to fight you if I don't agree with you. And it breaks my heart. What would you say to that?
Yeah, it is sad. I mean, I don't think that there is this easy solution where let's just love one another. Let's just all get along. Let's just determine that we're going to help and assist and have compassion toward our fellow man. I just don't think that's human nature. I don't think we're ever going to be at that point. But I do think you see situations, events that bring us together. I think there is still a charitable nature for many Americans. Think about what happened with Damar Hamlin and the way that his website, his GoFundMe page blew up to the tune of millions and millions of dollars that he can now use for children or for sports teams, for medical equipment that he's placing around the country. So I do still think that we show up in times of need.
Oh, yeah.
And, in dejection, in times of natural disasters, or in times of extreme circumstances. So I love that about our nation, that we can put our differences aside, again, often for the sake of football, but sometimes for what matters most. So I do think that we share, as humans, we share some very important qualities, but there's so much that divides us that I'm not sure we're ever going to be in a place where we all come together and stay that way, right? We'll come together for a time, but also diversity makes us stronger. What makes us different also allows us to learn from one another. We don't need to live in a world where we're all the same, or we all think the same, or we all believe the same. A, it would be boring, and B, we would never get better. We would never advance. We would never go beyond where we are right now.
That's right. And that's an awesome way to put it, because we have to, like I said before, we have to constantly change, evolve, keep going. I follow a lot of Buddhism. I read a lot of Sadhguru, and I listen to so many podcasts about just the universe and the spiritual aspects of how we're all connected. And, sports is a big part of that, because it's a rhythmic, spiritual kind of togetherness thing when 11 people or 5 people or baseball, 9 people are all working in harmony. You know what I mean? To just put out this one product, chasing this one goal, and that's really cool, man. I know you got to run some. We got about 5 minutes left. So sorry. Right? Yeah, we got no worries. We got 5 minutes left, but not even that long. I'm just going to give you the last word. It's been grateful talking with you. I appreciate you. I know I'll have you back on really, really soon. And for those of you out there watching, please listen to this woman. I'm telling you, if you up at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, and you turn on after hours, you will be thoroughly entertained. And again, I'm so happy that you were able to join us. I'm going to give you the full screen. I'm going to get off, and then I'll come back on and we'll end the show. But any words of encouragement that you might want to mention to our audience about, just keeping their head up and staying positive, I think we would need to hear that.
Well, I think that one of the things that I've taken the time to look back and appreciate is a winding road, is a road that I never could have anticipated, that not just where it would take me, but where it would end up, at least at this point in my life. Right now, because of my personal life and finally having the opportunity to get married to a man that I want to partner with, who sees me as his equal and is proud of me. I mean, I've waited such a long time for that. And so I'm right now so grateful that I didn't give up on either my career when it was hard or my personal life and the dreams that, that I held so dear for so many years and for so long. Thankful for the family and friends who never gave up on me or allowed me to stop believing as well. And so I think it's really important, not only that we always have goals, and for me to have goals, to have dreams keeps me going, keeps me moving forward, gives me a big picture perspective, but also the people, not just the ones that are there at the beginning or the ones that are there at the end, but the ones that you encounter along the way. And that's really been part of my shift in my radio show, is how can I connect with people? Because people are far more important than pro sports or than possessions or than, how we spend our time. The things that we stress out over so often, Zach, are not things that matter, right? People matter. And I try to make that the focus of my show too.
Yeah. Well, you've heard it right here. For those of you watching Funk from the Front Seat, 9 Underground TV, our special guest today, none other than Amy Lawrence, CBS Radio. It was a beautiful, beautiful journey on this hour conversation that we had. I wish you and your beautiful fiance and your family all the best. We get ready to get out of here, so hang out with us, y'all. And we're going to make sure that we know we're in the house, because we're going to end with something powerful that I always like to end with. And Chaka Khan is one of my favorite people. So I want y'all to sit back, relax, and enjoy Funk from the Front Seat, 9 Underground TV. If you're out there, Brenda in Ohio, I need you to clap your hands, all right? Boosie and Patty, I need you to clap your hands to this. Everybody in the house, Funk from the Front Seat. Get out of here. Because she is every woman, y'all. All around the world for the funk. North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, Florida, Baltimore, Washington, D.C. I know y'all got that Funk Kids Ball coming up September 30th. I'll be there. Today's guest, Amy Lawrence, was in the house with us. All around the world.
It's all in me.
From the Front Seat.
Naturally.
Peace, love, and harmony, yo. New Jersey, you heard. Funky Philadelphia. Detroit, Minneapolis. Chicago. All around the world. What the fuck? We had a dope time today. NFL is starting on Monday, yo. Woo! Hawaii, Samoan, doing the Humpty Hump. Humpty Hump. Tokyo, Annyeonghaseyo. China, Japan, Germany, Italy, Sweden, Dubai. I got you. Amy Lawrence was with us today, yo. All around the world for the funk. Puerto Rico, Haiti, I got you, Jamaica. Funk from the front seat, yo. Stay active on that chat line. Don't forget, Amy Lawrence, after hours, CBS Radio, overnight, yo. We'll see y'all next time, all right? We get ready to get out of here. Y'all have a good one, man. It's been dope.